Hello guys and welcome to another video. Today we will start to learn about React as a beginner or from a beginner's point of view, and the prerequisite that we should have is that we know about npm, a package manager, and we know about JavaScript, at least a bit, and HTML. So to start making a React app, well, we can bootstrap it or get a template from various bundlers or compiler. No, it's not a compiler. Yeah, bundlers. And those are Vite or the templating CLI, which is Create React App, or also Next.js. But let's go with Vite because we only need the React itself and not a full stack framework because Next.js is a full stack framework. Okay, so this will run Vite. Let's wait for it. Inside the directory, period. And we will choose React and TypeScript as well. So SWC is just pretty much will make our development server faster and our, or rather our building process faster, or bundling process. So bundling is pretty much minifying your files or code, and by that I mean like changing the names to shorter names, removing white space, etc. So let's look at the files that was provided to us. So we have the app.tsx, which is pretty much a file that contains a function, and this function returns JSX right here, as you can see. So what is JSX? Well, JSX is pretty much syntactic sugar for saying that, okay, this is a string of HTML, or in this case, superpowered HTML. And it's pretty fascinating because TypeScript allows us to write stuff in this way, which is JSX. So to write JSX, you just need to pretty much declare a file extension with JSX, or in this case for TypeScript, TSX. Okay. So what this does is pretty much there's a renderer in React that will parse this and append this code inside your root or HTML file. And most of the time, React applications are single page. And by that, I mean there's only one HTML file. Okay? And React is pretty much just a library wherein there's a set of built-in code that is made by various hardworking developers for us to let us manage state, manage rendering very easily, and such. That is why it's very dynamic. Okay, and we will see why in a second. So we need an entry point for our application, or for our application, for each React application. Okay, pretty much. And we need a script tag that will point to the main file. So in this case, we don't really need to worry about this right now because this is handled by the bundler for us. So if we try to run build, npm run, oh wait, I think we need to install first. Did we install already? Oh yeah, we already did. Okay, there we go. So npm run build. So if we run build, let's see the output of this. So build is pretty much bundled up for us by Vite. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. It's pretty slow. Oh, there we go. Nice. And we have the dist folder. So let's see what the index.html looks like. And there we go. As you can see, it transpiled or changed the point, or it changed where the script tag is pointing towards. And this JavaScript file here is pretty much the main file that consists of the code for React. There we go, as you can see. From Facebook, license under yada yada. So this whole code right here is pretty much the foundation for React, wherein we can call various methods such as hooks, and such, and also the renderer for our application. So let's see the bare bones of that. Well, not really the bare bones. Let's see how it's done. Okay, it's not a module. Hmm. What's this error that we are getting? Okay, so right now we don't need to pay attention to the error, although are we getting errors here? This is just from TypeScript. So let's just see how we do this. So React DOM is pretty much the renderer for React or for JSX, okay? It will provide us with a virtual DOM, or in this case, just the JavaScript storage. It will store various data about our application, which is the virtual DOM, okay? And to declare a root, we just need to get the method available from React DOM, which is create root from the client, okay? So we need to use the client, create root, and this will get the root, or pretty much the element that will be the root of our application. So where do we want our application to render out stuff? Well, inside the element with the ID of root right here. So if we check index.html, we have the element with the ID of root. Okay. And with that, we will have the method available named render. So what do we want to render? And in this case, we can pass on JSX. Okay. So JSX also let us import functions that return JSX. So in this case, the function app returns a JSX to us, which is right here. So now I'm not sure why we are getting errors, but we don't really need to pay attention to that right now. Okay. And this strict modes right here is pretty much just for development, and we don't need this. Okay. All right. So we can remove it like so. And let's run the development server. Then run dev. Excuse me. And let us actually remove all of this. Okay. So to declare a component, we just need to have a function and whatever name we want to give the function. So app. Okay. And we want to export this as whatever we want. So either a name to export, which is inside a um, curly braces. So like so app, yeah. And then in here, of course, we need to change that into a name to import app, like so. So in this case, we need to return JSX or HTML. Okay. So we need to return, for example, a div. And if you say hello, like so, and if we go to the development server, which is localhost or void, localhost 4321, or no, it's actually localhost 5173. There we go. We got the hello. And the reason this is centered is because we have these styles right here. So if we just empty that out, and this, we get this one. Voila. Okay. So with this in mind, wherein we can have a function that returns just eggs, and we can use this to actually insert inside another JSX, or rather we can use this as a JSX. Then we can use reusable components. So how's that? Well, for example, we have a button.jsx. And in here, or rather, I guess we can say card. So let's just make a card component. You can just say function card and export name export card. Okay, and this will return a JSX with, for example, a div, and then we have, I guess, an article because this can be separate from its context because it is a card. So we have H2, which will have title. So we will talk about props in a second here. Let's just see how this works. And we have P description, like so. Okay, and of course we can give this a class name card. So now we can import that to our app component. So all we need to do is say card, and it will be imported for us. Save that, and if we check our browser, we have the card here. And if you noticed, I'm actually encapsulating the HTML tags inside a root parent. So by that I mean a singular HTML tag or fragment, we can call it, per each function or per each component or per each JSX that is returned. Okay, so in return statement, there should only be one parent. So by that I mean com one element that encapsulates all the other uh, elements. So if we have another one down here, we will get an error like so. There we go. JSX expressions must have one parent element. And what if we don't really want to clutter up our um, HTML markup? So for example, right now we have, let's check this out. There we go. We have a div parent container. But what if we don't want this to be here? We only want to have the card. Well, there's what we call the React fragment. And we can instantiate them by just having an empty angle brackets. So in this case, this is considered valid. Are we getting error? Oh, it's the same as previous errors. This will count as valid, and as you can see, the div tag is gone. Okay, and we can also instantiate this as a fragment, or rather, React dot fragment, like so. And of course, we need to import React or not. Import React from React, like so. And that should not give us an error. There we go. So they are the same things. And of course, we can instantiate them as just a fragment, but we also need to import them. So import fragment from React. There we go. Like so. Okay. All right. So how can we make the to-do app? Well, we can make it pretty simply. And we will use local storage for this. Okay. So first, to have states in React, there's what we call a hook named useState. So useState is pretty much a way to manage, well, state. Okay. So we have const, let's say to-dos and set to-dos. So the useState hook returns two functions in an array, or a tuple, we can call it. Returns a tuple wherein the first value is the data or the state that you have, and the second value is the function or the state setter, the one that will change state for us when we call it. Okay, so we can say that import const tuple to do's and set to do's is equals to use state, like so. So we have a use state like right here, and we can pass that on any item that we want. Okay, so in this case, we are using TypeScript, so we need to explicitly set it, wherein this will be an array of to-dos. Okay, so in this case, we can declare an interface of to-do, wherein we have the IP, which can be anything really, a string, we have the title, or I guess the description, which is a string, and we have the progress, which is a number, and then another one which is finished, boolean, like so. And in TypeScript, there's what we call generics, and this function right here is a generic as well. So whatever we pass inside as a parameter here will be inferred as the type of the to-dos or the state. So in this case, if we pass on an array, that means this will be an array with no contents or never. Okay. And if we pass on a generic parameter right here, generic type, which is equal to an array of to-dos, and pass in an array, then this will be inferred as an array of to-dos. And if we pass in nothing, then this would be inferred as this can either be an array of to-dos or undefined. There we go. So in this case, we want this to be an array. Okay. And there is another hook in React that will help us to load our state when the user loads the page for the first time. But we will talk about that later on. For now, let's try to actually make this logic running. Okay. So let's try to remove the card for now and make this logic, logic rather. So we have first div with an h1, and we can say that to do app, and below we can have a form just to make this a good practice. Okay, and the label. So instead of for right here, there's what we call HTML4. Okay, inside for labels as an attribute in JSX. So what is this label for? Well, we can give this the ID of the input that we will have. So to do description, like so. Okay. And you know what? I think we don't need the ID here for now. Yeah. Okay. Then we can have something like describe your to-do. Then we have an input now. And the type of this would be text. Placeholder would be to do description, like so. Okay. Mhm. And one more thing is we can handle the values of inputs using React as well with useState. So in this case, we can say const do description and then set to do description. So this is not really a good practice wherein that we are declaring this because this component or function has many responsibilities. So a component or a function should always have a single responsibility as much as possible, or a method. Okay. But we're just learning about React, so it doesn't really matter. So let's just say useState a string. Okay. So the value of the input should be equals to whatever the value of the to-do description is. Okay. To-do description. And on change, whenever the value of the input changes, okay, then we want to run a function. In this case, we will set the value of the to-do description equals to e.target, which is the input dot value. Okay, all right. So let's see, what else do we need to do? All right, we need a button. So we have a button, submit, type of submit. So in here, we can just say on submit inside the form is equals to handle submit. So we will create a function up here named handle submit. So function handle submit e, which will take in the form event, because we want to prevent the default behavior of the form, which is to refresh the page, or in this case, to redirect us to whatever the action attribute is. So in this case, action is equals to empty. Or of course, we can just not set it. But in this case, yeah, I guess we can set it. Okay, so e dot prevent default. Prevent the default behavior of this event. What's the error here? Okay, React.form event. So this type is available in React. Okay, and then with that, we can just set to do's. So this is how we can change state. Okay, so this function, when we call it, it gives us the ability to access the previous state, and that would be a closure. Okay, we have a function, and its argument would have the previous state of the to-do. So prev to-dos function right here, and this function should return a value which wherein its type is equals to the type of the state that we are trying to change. Okay, so in this case, we just need to return array spread operator, copy all of the to-dos, and then append the new to-do. So in this case, we have the description right here, to-do description, and then progress would be 0, and is finished would be false for now. Okay. Then after setting the to-dos, this will re-render the whole component. And after that, we want to run something else. So set to-do description to empty. Okay. Like so. So this is the most recommended way to do this, because let's say we want to run this again for whatever reason, we want to run this twice, then the value of this prev to do's will include the value right here. Okay, or right here, or the updated value. Okay, and if we just used, for example, if we declared it, let's say up here, if we declared it this way, so the new to-dos would be equals to spread operator to-dos, the to-dos right now, and then a new value equals to this. Then that means if we did it, if we did this way as well, let me just copy that. Okay, I think I should just copy this. There we go. And this way. There we go. So if we did it this way, that means that this right here will reference the variable right above, which is the tuple for the state. And this is bad because on the second call, we are still accessing the old value. And that is because React has the principle of batching, I think. So like everything is in a life cycle. So in one cycle. So in this case, React will call all of these calls first. And this reference for this would still be equals to the reference to this before the component was rendered or re-rendered. Okay. So in this case, after calling this, then the component would be, or rather the value of the state would now be changed, or will now be different. However, the value of the to-dos will still be the same. Okay, the value of this will still be the same. However, the internal state is different. So now if we reference this right here, down here, then it will still be the same reference and not the value right here, which is the new one. Okay, does that make sense? Probably not, but yeah. So you will see this if you make a counter as such. So anyway, let's just make the one we had here. Because React follows the data immutability. So React is pretty much immutable, wherein we create new instances of arrays, objects, and such every single time. So anyway, this should do it. So now all we need to do is to render out this list of to-dos. So we have UL and another inbuilt function in React, which is map. So to-dos dot map. So for each to-do, we want to do something with it. In this case, we want to return a JSX once again. So for each to do, we want to return just x. And so in this case, we only have one single root or parent element. So we have an li in this case. And when you are doing this method, then you need to provide a key for it. Okay? So this is a way for React to keep track of the list. So what changed and what did not change? Because React will re-render a component or stuff only when the data changes or only when something changes. And in this case, if its key does not change, then that means this value did not change. Okay? So index, this is not really recommended because of what I've mentioned. We need to say, excuse me, we need to say that something changed here. The list has changed. So in this case, we can just say to be without description, I guess. But div to do dot description and a progress with a value equals to do dot progressed, like so. And I guess a checkbox input type equals to checkbox value is equals, or rather is checked or checked is equals to do dot is finished, like so. There we go. So if we try to say run 1 mile, submit, we got this right here. Okay, and we get an error because that an on-change handler. Okay, so we need to, of course, have an on-change handler. So this is where the reusable components come in. Okay, so let's see. Let's make a reusable component down here. So we have function to do. So this will return this right here. Of course, without the key. Format that. There we go. And now we need to accept, or we need to have the to do here. And that would be in the form of props. So every function, every React component lets us to pass in props, which is just an object of properties or an object of items. Okay, and we can declare this that the props should be equals to do. So const, and we can destructure that object destructuring, wherein we say const to do is equals to props. Okay, and we got this. We have this mistake right here, which should be props is the type of props is equals to an object with the property of to do, and the type of its to do is equals to the type to do, like so. So now we have that. Now all we need to do is render that component right here. Okay. So we want to return the component to do, and its props we can pass in the attribute. So we can consider this as an attribute really. So there we go. We have InstillSense, and the value of this prop is equals to B. And we also need to pass in the key. So the key will be equals to B dot description plus index, like so. Oh, really? Why don't we have the key? Most of the time we can pass in the key. Why is that? Hmm. Get it to dig more deep about that or deeper about that. But one way to work around this, you can just say reactor fragment. Then we can pass in the key here. Key index. So also this is the use of having the named fragment instead of the empty fragment. Okay. Oh, all right. Hmm. Did something change when I was not using React? It did key here. Interesting. I guess we can just do it that way. So li, and this one would be the fragment for now. Okay. So now, if we have a non-change here, const is finished, set is finished, we can have the state inside this component. So useState, and the value of this would be equals to do dot is finished. Like so. You can say that onChange is equals to e equals to set is finished equals to, so just like earlier, we get the previous value, and in this case it's a boolean, so we just need to return the opposite of that, like so. Okay, and now the value of whether this checkbox will be checked or not be equals to is finished. There you go. So now we have that, and voila, beautiful. All right, so as you can see, when I'm refreshing, it's disappearing. So how can we save that? Well, we can store it inside the local storage. All right, so what we can do is extract this, say something like const uh const, what do we call here, const new to do. There we go. Const new to do, then just here we can just spread that. So okay, and now this is where the other hook in React will come in. We have the hook name useEffect, so we just need to import that over here, useEffect, like so. Mhm. There we go. So this takes in two parameters or two arguments. The first one would be the closure or the function that will get called when this, well, when the effect runs. So this pretty much means that whenever the component renders, we want to run a side effect. Okay. So this side effect is the first argument, which is the function that will be run. And the second argument is the dependency array. So dependency array pretty much means what are the values that we need to keep track of, wherein if it changes, then we will run this effect again. Okay? Or rather, that will be the only time that we will run this effect again. Because if we don't pass this, then that means this effect will run every time the component re-renders. Okay? So what is re-rendering? Well, that's pretty much means that the renderer, which is React DOM, will rerun this function. So that would be from top here to bottom. And here it will recreate the function, this right here, and it will re rerun this JSX expression right here. So that means if any of the values inside, for example, in here, the to-do description, that means the value of this will change. equals to the value of the changed state. Okay, so that's what's happening in here every time we set the to-do description. So in here we have the cycle. Okay, set the to-do description to this value, which is equals to the new one every time the user types. And then after that, the React will signal React DOM, which is the renderer, that okay, a value has changed. Let us re-render everything in here. So with the input. So we re-render everything, and the input has reference to the changed state, which is this right here. So that would mean it will reflect to the UI right here. Okay. And if you check that out in the HTML markup, it should be doing that like so. There we go. So every time we type, it's actually changing the value of the attribute value. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's see here. So this is a TypeScript error. You can just say satisfies to do. There we go. Okay, so every time the value of the to-dos changes, we need to render out, or we need to run this effect. Or no, not like that. So every time the user runs the page or loads the page. Okay, so every time this component renders once, so only once. Okay, because useEffect will always run once every time the component renders. And in this case, when we pass on the dependency array to be empty, that means there's no value that this effect or this useEffect will compare to. That means this will not re-render or this will not rerun. So all we need to do is we can just say const stored use is equals to local storage dot get item reduce. If stored reduce does not exist, then, or rather if stored reduce exists and store an array that is array stored reduce, uh, so is this stored reduce item in the local storage, excuse me, an array? Oh wait, I think, okay, we need to parse it first. Okay, so we need to parse const parsed reduce is equals to JSON dot parse. Since the only thing that can be stored in the browser is a string, we need to parse it. So parse it to be equal to whatever its original JavaScript value was or type. So in this case, if it was an object, then it will be converted into an object. If it was an array, then it can be converted into an array. So in this case, let's use what error is here. Okay, has to be. There we go. Then we can just say set to do's equals to the parsed to do's. So now if we save that, and what error are we getting here? Okay, there we go. So now we get nothing because, well, if we check the application and the local storage, it's empty, like so, okay? And now if we try to actually set the logic to save local storage dot set item reduce equals to JSON dot stringify reduce. So that would be inside this function here actually. So we have here const new reduce equals to this array right here. Just grab that. So we just return new reduce like so. New reduce. There we go. And now if we watch the local storage, this should change it. As you can see, we have it. So now if we save this, we get it just like that. Okay, very nice. But then how can we make it so that this is saved as well? So if we check that and refresh, we get the unsaved value. Well, that would be setting the item once again. Okay, so we can say that, hmm, how can we do this? Hmm, okay, so to do, we need to save it here. So I guess we can pass in a function here. So function under change to do so, and then we will have that here. So we need the prop handle change. So we can also pass in functions. Okay. Handle change is equals to function that takes in the do that returns nothing, which is void. Okay. So handle change. So now in here, every time we change this, we will set the is finished to the opposite of it, and then after that, we will handle the change, or we will call handle change, wherein we will pass in the new to do. So in this case, we have the to do, and the is finished be equals to, well, is finished. There we go. Is finished. Okay. Right? Yeah. So now we can pass this right here. Handle change equals to handle change. There we go. So in this case, we actually need the ID. So we can just say ID string. And let's just make a randomizer. How can we make the ID here? Yeah, we actually needed that. We actually need an ID this time. So to see what changed or not in this array, because we will loop through them right here. So I guess one way to do that is gen ID. Okay, let me just skip through this. Let me pause the video. Okay, I made the function. So this is pretty much from my toast video. It's a very simple pseudo random ID. Okay, so let's see here. The key would now be equals to do.id. There we go. Beautiful. And of course, now we don't need to pass to have the index accessed. So let's see. So we will look through for, or rather set to do's goes to prev to do's, like so. So we will change the to do's here. Const. So not really a good practice. So this will can definitely be better. For example, using a different data structure instead of an array, for example, a map. But we're just trying to learn how we can render stuff or make stuff and store stuff in React, or load stuff in this case. So let's const new to this is equals to, or rather, um, we can just have a prev to do's dot map. Okay, so is to do dot id. And just we need to change the name of this to curl. It's equals to do .it. Then we want to return the to do. Else we can return the current to do. Or of course we can turn this into a ternary expression. Return is current to do .id. Is the ID of the current to do here in the iteration of the map is equals to the ID of the to do that was changed. Then we want to return that to do that was changed, or the changed value of the to do. Else we just want to return the current to do. And we can just return this like so. So if this works, then we should be able to get the new value. So set item to do's json.stringify new to do's like so. So we submit. Oh, what error are we getting? Should have a unique key prompt. Oh, it's because the earlier one did not have an ID. I see. So I guess we can remove this. If I refresh, it should be empty. There we go. With this, refresh that. Okay, good. If I change, there we go. If I refresh, and it's not working. Okay, what's the problem here? Aha, right here. We are referencing this value up here. However, we have changed it already. So we can just say, okay, there we go. So if I click this, hit refresh, there we go. Click this, refresh, click this, and refresh. There we go. Or not. Did it work? Refresh. Okay, click this, refresh. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's working. Okay, that is very nice. So why did this happen? Well, based on what I have explained earlier, is that when we do this, then when we do this, then React has changed the external state, but the value of this still does not change. Since JavaScript is single-threaded, wherein everything is run from top to bottom, one by one, synchronously, then this will run. So the internal state has changed. However, the reference to this did not. So we run this with the reference to the old value right here. Run this, and up here, there we go. We're setting the changed state, okay? So the styling is very bad, so let's just try to style that up a bit. Guess we can give this a class equals to produce. Go to the app CSS, we can just produce, display, a flex direction, column, a gap of 0.25 rem, and produce a lie. We'll have a display of flex, a gap of 0.25 rem, and an align items of center. I'll of course import that as well. Import. There we go. Nice. Oh, and of course we want to push the gap. Okay. And then what else? We need to be able to delete it, right? Yeah, okay. So I guess we can just add a delete button right beside here. Yeah, we can just do that. So here we can have a button that can say delete. Not the best, but let's make the functionality work. Delete type equals to button, and this will only activate if the to do is finished or not. Okay, so disabled equals to if the user is not finished. And on click, we can have a function that will be passed for us in here handle delete. In this case, we can say to do id string void. And over here handle delete like so. Of course, if the user is finished, that will be the only time that we delete. Because most of the time, the user might troll and, delete or remove the attribute disabled inside the HTML markup, because that is possible. So up here, we can have a function named handle delete to do id string. So you can say set to do's equals to ref to do's const new to do's is equals to ref to do's that map or filter in this case because we want to remove an item. So just to take note that this methods right here, filter and map, creates a new array, and that would mean more memory for us. But since we're using React, it's all about convenience. Cur to do, we want to return is cur to do that id is equals to do id. Then that means this is the to do that we want to remove. So we want to return null or nothing. Else we want to return the item like so. And now we can just do the same thing like so. We save that and there we go. Check and delete. We are not able to delete that because we have not passed in the function as a prop. So handle delete is equal to handle delete. There we go. So now if we try to click this, nothing will happen. Delete. It should happen. So what is the problem? It's finished. Oh, we are not calling it, of course. So we have to do dot id. So now if we delete, there we go, it's gone. If we refresh, it's gone from the storage or local storage. This check, it's done, delete. Okay. So one last thing, we have the delete functionality, the add functionality is to update. Okay. So it's not the best UI there is, but it gets there. Because I'm a connoisseur of appealing UIs. But most of the time it's really time consuming, so let's just go with this. Anyway, we can just have an update button here. So button type equals to update or no button, and the text for this will be update. There we go. Here. So we can just change this into a dynamic element. So this will change into a text box whenever we click the update. Okay, and of course this will also be dependent on whatever mode we are in or we are on. So in this case, const mode set mode is equals to useState. So also one of the uses for this, very dynamic. Edit. So this can either be edit or view. Like so. In this case, it will be view. Okay. So I guess just to make this, we can wrap this inside a form. So that the enter, so that we don't have to handle like the enter key down and such. Okay. We can just say mode is equals to edit, then this will turn into save, else this will be update, like so. And on click, for now, you can just set the mode to P or previous mode, return P equals to edit, this will be view, else edit, okay? So when we save, so the type of this should be submit, or space mode equals edit, okay. Okay, we don't need this actually. Type equals to submit, so, and then in here, instead of actually having it here, it should be, or rather, yeah, it should be up on the form itself. So we have an on submit, handle submit, like so, an action, empty action, function handle submit e, so to prevent the default behavior, like so, e dot prevent default. So we would just want to set the mode here, like so. Okay. Change the form. Okay, dokie. So if P is equals to view, we return, or if mode. Okay, so now up here, you can have ternary expressions here. If mode equals to view, then the value of this would be equals to just a display. Else, this will be an input with the type, or I guess a text area, we can have it. The placeholder equals to enter your, and this will be required, like so. So it's also the purpose of why we are using a form element, okay? So here we can just say const description, set description equals to useState to do dot description, and down here on the text area, and of course up here, description, the value of this would be equals to description, and when we change, oh yeah, so this should be a to do dot description, because in the case that we cancel and we do not update, the value will still be the same. Okay, the value, set the description to the target that value, so, and the same for the progress. Is there a way to change the progress actually? Const progress set progress equals to useState to do that progress. All right. So in here, we can say that isMode equals to you have this, else we will have an input with the type equals to progress, the value equals to progress, and on change set progress to either target dot value. Not sure if it's supposed to be value, but oh wait, it should be, we can have something like, oh yeah, it should be either target value. And of course max be 100 and mean would be 0. Will that work? Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, I think it should be a type slider. Oh, okay, let me search a bit. Okay, so it's supposed to be a range. There we go. Okay. Nice. There we go. So here. Okay, that's great. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So when we save, we want to handle change, or rather, handle change. So the new value would be description. So progress, and is finished to is finished, like so. Okay. And one last thing is to disable this equals to progress is less than 100. There we go. And of course, we can only run this if progress equals to 100. Or in this case, it should be the to-do's progress. So to-do.progress. There we go. Now we can't do this, but if we did this and save, of course, we did not run it yet, did we? Oh, ID. Yeah, there we go. We need the ID. Because without the ID, then we won't be able to update that to do. Refresh. Save. There we go. If it is to max, we can delete it like so. And this is not being updated. Why is that? Let's see here. The progress is 1. Why is this saying? Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have the value. Okay, there we go. So that was it, huh? Interesting. Okay, there we go. We have a working, updating to-do. Hooray! And if you set the progress to max, we can delete it, like so. If I refresh, it's gone. So one last thing is to be able to cancel the update state. So we can just have a button right here with a, of course, if the mode is equals to edit, then we want to render this button right here, cancel. Okay, type of this is equals to a button, and on click, we want to reset everything. Okay, so first we got to set description equals to do the description, the original value, set progress to do dot progress, the original value, and set mode equals to view. So that should do it. And let's just encapsulate this inside a div. Format the document. And now we should have it. Oh, right here. There we go. Okay. So let's actually make this somewhat better. So we can have a data mode. Data mode equals to mode. So in our app.css, we can say, we can grab the form. There we go. Format that. Get the form that has the attribute of data mode equals to edit. I can just have something like display flex direction column line items start, like so. Border 1 pixel solid black. Border ranges 1 rem, guess, and padding of 0.5. There we go. So not that bad. Okay. And we can just have some kind of a space right here. So display flex, yeah, 0.5. There we go. So we can either save this, change the progress to the max, and delete, like so, or we can keep adding new ones. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A to-do app with a very horrible and terrible design. But yeah, it's functioning and definitely can be better. For example, the filter, you can use maps and such. But that's pretty much it. You have learned, or we have learned, how React, how we can pass on props to React, how we can change the value of a text input, and how we can save values as well, and how we can load values on page loads using useEffect, and the management of state as well using useState, and how we can loop through data using, well, the array of data that map. So we will map through the data right here. Okay, beautiful. So that's pretty much the to-do app, which is very nice. You can delete if it's 100% progress, and yeah. So that's pretty much everything, and I need to get rid of the errors here, which is pretty much the TypeScript error, and our app is working. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. I will be posting the link to this, well, website, because I will be building it, just so you can play around with it. Not sure. And yeah, Good luck on your development journey and happy learning. Have a good day. Goodbye.